Hey everyone, and welcome to the Zone of Tech. I'm Daniel, and this is the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge. You probably know this phone because it's a pretty popular one, and this is also the best smartphone that you can currently get. It has the best display on any smartphone, the best camera on any smartphone, and it also has one of the best designs ever. I personally think that this is the best looking phone ever, and besides all this, it has some great performance. It's also waterproof, by the way, and it also comes with a micro SD card slot. So yeah, so far this thing looks like the perfect phone. Is it? Well, almost. It's really close. There are some things that Samsung hasn't told you when it comes to the S7 and the S7 Edge, so here are 5 things you need to know before buying one. Enjoy. Okay, number 1, there are actually 2 models of this phone. And no, I'm not talking about the S7 and the S7 Edge. You probably know that. When I said 2 models, I actually meant 2 different CPU models for different markets. So in the US, all Samsung Galaxy S7, so the S7 and the S7 Edge, both of them come with a brand new Snapdragon 820, which is simply a monster of a CPU. That's in the US. Outside the US, so in Europe and Asia, all Samsung Galaxy S7 models come with Samsung's own processor. The Exynos 8890, which same as with the 820, this is also a beast of a CPU. However, keep in mind that if with the iPhone 6s, we actually got the same CPU but from 2 different manufacturers, TSMC and Samsung, and both CPUs actually they used a different process, and there were quite a few differences between those two, even though they were the same CPU, only made by different suppliers. While those 2 CPUs are actually entirely different CPUs, completely different. Different GPUs, different clock speeds. Yeah, those things are quite different. And in terms of the actual performance, the Snapdragon 820 is actually 5% more powerful CPU-wise. Yeah, 5% is not a lot, but when you take a look at the graphics, so this is an Antutu benchmark, the 820 is actually 35% faster in terms of the graphics performance. So yeah, the Adreno 530 is simply a beast when compared to the Mali GPU inside the Exynos 8890. But interesting enough, PhoneBuff actually did a speed test, and they compared those 2 models, the Exynos 8890 and the Snapdragon 820. They did an app launch speed test, and surprisingly this time the Exynos 8890 actually won by a mile. It was 42 seconds ahead of the Snapdragon 820 in a test that was actually less than 3 minutes. So that's a huge difference. Also, for some weird reason, RAM management was also much better on the Exynos 8890 model. Okay, so to put things in perspective, the 820 is much more powerful GPU-wise, so when you play games will run much better on the 820. However, on the other hand, the 8890 is much better when it comes to opening apps, RAM management, and even the battery life. Yeah, in terms of the battery life, there's a huge difference between those 2. I mean, just take a look at these numbers. 2-hour difference, 3-hour difference, huge improvements. The battery life is also much better on the Exynos 8890 chip, which kind of makes sense because it's Samsung's own processor. So you would think that it's going to be more optimized, which it is. And one more thing, the updates. Samsung will most likely push updates first on the Exynos 8890 model. So yeah, there are quite a lot of reasons to get this model over the 821. In terms of gaming, yes, this one is more powerful, but then at the same time, I haven't had any issues when it comes to gaming with the 8890, which is my model. Most of the games that I tried were really fluid. Hearthstone did have quite a bit of lag, by the way, but other than that, everything was buttery smooth. So the first thing that you need to know is this one. The Exynos 8890 is a much better option, so if you live in the US and you have a way of getting this one, then definitely do it. It's definitely a much better option. Other than that, both models are pretty good, but this one is better. Finally, moving on to the second thing that you need to know, quick charging. So an interesting thing to note here is that the Snapdragon 820 actually comes with Quick Charge 3.0. Okay, so what's Quick Charge? Well, it's quick charge. So you basically charge your phone faster. And this is really useful when you have such a huge phone with such a huge battery. This one, the S7 Edge, comes with a 3600 mAh battery. Huge battery, which should take a lot of hours, 3 hours, well, 3 hours to charge. And Quick Charge 1.0 gives you a 40% faster charge. Quick Charge 2.0 gives you 75% quicker charge. And then Quick Charge 3.0 gives you 4 times the charging speed of a regular charger, which is just insane. But even though the Snapdragon 820 does support Quick Charge 3.0, well, the Galaxy S7, the 820 model, does not. And yeah, the 8890 model does not either. So all S7 and S7 Edge models come with Quick Charge 2.0. And this is not necessarily a bad thing because even my S7 Edge takes only 1 hour and a half to fully charge from 1%, which is just insane. Again, 3600 mAh battery. That's pretty much how long my iPhone 6s with a 1750 mAh battery takes to charge. So Quick Charge 2.0 is already amazing, even though, yeah, 3.0 is much faster, and at the same time, it's also more efficient. It can also adjust its voltage depending on how much charge you have in your phone. Again, not having Quick Charge 3.0 is not necessarily a deal breaker because Quick Charge 2.0 is already amazing, but I just wanted to point out that no S7 models, not even the Snapdragon 821s, come with Quick Charge 3.0. The LG G5 comes with it, and the HTC One M10 will most likely come with it as well. Number 3, we have the camera. Now, most of you probably know this. The megapixel count has actually dropped from 16 to 12 megapixels. And a lot of people have been complaining that this is actually a bad thing, but no, this is actually a really good thing. When you have less pixels on the sensor, well, those pixels can actually be much larger. So they can basically capture more light. And along with it, f1.7 aperture, which has been increased from f1.9 on the S6, well, even more light gets into the S7's camera, and this thing is just insane in low light. This is currently the best smartphone camera when it comes to low light photography. I mean, just take a look at those shots. iPhone 6s, Samsung Galaxy S7, which one do you think looks the best? I mean, it's pretty obvious. However, if you're not that kind of person who takes a lot of nighttime shots, the Galaxy S6 is actually a much better option since it's now a lot cheaper, and since, yes, it does have a 16 megapixel sensor, so daytime shots will actually be much crispier than the ones on the S7. Also, because of that f1.7 aperture, macro shots are much softer than before, so even though the S7 currently has the best smartphone camera, the S6 is still a really good choice. It's cheaper now, and yeah, you have a much higher 16 megapixel sensor if you're the guy who usually takes daytime shots. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Number 4, you probably know that this phone is water resistant, but water resistant doesn't mean waterproof, and at the same time, there are a lot of restrictions that Samsung hasn't told you when it comes to the water resistancy. Which ones? Let's see. So the S7 comes with an IP68 certification, which means that you can submerge it in up to 1.5 meters of water up to 30 minutes. Okay, that's cool, so you can take it to the swimming pool, right? Well, not really. Swimming pool water usually has chlorine. Since on the S7 we no longer have flops like we did with the S5 that close the ports, we only have rubber seals now. Those seals can actually get damaged by the chlorine in the pool water. Now obviously if this only happened once, you're probably going to be fine, but just don't take it to the swimming pool, I don't know, every week or so. So taking it to the swimming pool is not the best idea, but what about taking a shower with the S7? Well, IP68 actually means submersion in 1.5 meters of water. When you take a shower, there's actually pressure coming from the water, and with the help of that pressure, water can actually get into the ports, the headphone jack, the micro USB port, and they can actually damage your phone pretty badly. Hot water is even worse because it can cause condensation inside the phone. So no, taking a shower with this is actually a worse idea than submerging it into a pool, by the way. Okay, well then what's the point of having a Galaxy S7 that's water resistant? Well, you don't have to worry about rain anymore. You can use it with wet hands, and in case you're curious, you can take a bath with this thing because yeah, it's bath resistant, bath is still submerging, and there's no pressure, there's no chlorine. So actually taking a bath with this is the safest thing you can do when it comes to water resistancy. But let me know in the comment section down below, by the way, how many of you have a water resistant phone, and if you've ever used your phone in a shower at a swimming pool, or if you've ever exploited that water resistancy. Oh, and I actually forgot to mention the most important part. Samsung doesn't actually cover any water damage with the S7 and the S7 Edge. Yeah, it's not covered under warranty. The motherboard inside the S7 is actually not nano coated, so it doesn't have any liquid repellent solution, so only the doors outside the phone are sealed, so to say. If any water really gets into the inside of the phone, well, it's gonna fry the circuit board. Just wanted to mention this as well. And finally, moving on to number 5, the micro SD card slot is not as amazing as you would think. So you probably know that the S7 comes with 32 gigabytes of storage, but then something that was missing from the S6 has returned with the S7, that micro SD card slot. So yeah, you can now add a micro SD card inside the S7. So yeah, you can add a 32 gigabytes micro SD card, a 64, 128, 256, whatever you want. And if you add 32, you would have 64 in total, right? Well, yeah, kinda. You see, even though you would have 64 gigabytes in total, this is not the same as buying a 64 gigabyte phone. The external storage is always going to be much slower than the internal one, and microSD cards usually have a really low speed. Most of them only have 10 to 20 megabytes per second, which is yeah, actually less than a 5400 RPM hard drive. And then the ones that are a bit faster, like 90 megabytes per second, those are really good, but at the same time, those are really expensive. So number 5 would be this one. Pick a really fast microSD card. Now, Android 6.0 Marshmallow actually has a pretty cool feature called adaptive storage. And what this feature does is that if you have a phone that has a microSD card slot and you add a microSD card, well, it basically merges the internal and external storage into one. So your phone would actually see 64 gigabytes of internal storage rather than 32 internal and 32 external. And this is good because you don't have to worry about moving apps or photos or movies from internal storage to the external one. Everything would be done automatically. But then at the same time, the S7 and the S7 Edge, even though those actually come pre-installed with Android Marshmallow 6.0, well, this feature has actually been disabled by Samsung. So no adaptive storage on the S7 and the S7 Edge. Another thing to keep in mind. Now, something really annoying when it comes to the S7 and expandable storage is the fact that you cannot actually move any apps on the microSD card. Now, I'm not entirely sure if this is an issue with Android 6.0 or with just the S7 in general, but when you try moving an app, let's say a 1 gigabyte app to the external storage, it says that it's moving and then it says that it's being moved. It says moved, but the amount of storage I have left is unchanged. But then I connected the SD card to my computer and yeah, same thing, no apps on the SD card at all. Now, there might be a fix for this in the future, but at the moment, the only use for an SD card inside an S7 is for storing photos, music, and videos. And that's it. And speaking of photos and videos, one really annoying thing with the S7 is that you actually have two gallery apps. You have Google Photos, which everyone is going to use, and then you also have Samsung's own gallery app. And interesting enough, Google Photos actually has no write access to the SD card, so basically you cannot delete any photos using Google Photos app from the SD card. If you want to delete a photo, you have to go to the gallery first, then delete it from there, then go back to the Google Photos and delete it from the cloud as well. So you'll have to delete every single photo twice. Yeah, this is also really frustrating, but this was another thing that I really wanted to point out. So my advice when it comes to the SD card is buy a really fast one that's 32 gigabytes. You don't actually need more than 32 gigabytes because again, this is only going to be for photos, videos, and music. And that's it. And you'll also have to bear the pain of deleting every photo twice. And there you go, these were 5 things that I consider to be really important when it comes to buying an S7 or an S7 Edge. Now, there are way more than 5 things you need to know when it comes to the S7 and the S7 Edge, but those 5 were, in my opinion, the most important ones. If you want to know more about the S7 and the S7 Edge, take a look at my unboxing and first impressions video that I did a couple of days ago. That video is more in depth and more focused towards my experience with the S7 Edge. Also, one thing to note, that really awesome silver titanium color, that one is not available in the UK. So if you're thinking of getting an S7 silver titanium, well, you'll have to import it from the US or get it in the US if you're from the US. That one looks insane, minus the black Onyx model, which also looks pretty good, but let me know in the comment section down below which color you think looks the best on the S7. Let me know. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. I'll have more coverage of the S7, my full review is coming in a few weeks, once I get to spend more time with it. And yeah, in the meantime, I'll actually have quite a few more videos on the S7 and on the S7 Edge. So definitely subscribe if you want to see those. And also feel free to give this video a huge like if you have enjoyed it. And let me know in the comment section down below which one of those 5 things I told you, which one of those changed your mind when it comes to buying an S7, or simply which one did you find the most interesting one. Let me know. Also, if you've enjoyed this style of video, 5 things you need to know before buying a device, well, I've actually done a video on the iPhone SE and on the iPad Pro 9.7 inch as well. So in case you want to check those out, I left those links in the description box down below as well. But yeah, this has been it. Stay tuned for a lot more coverage on the S7 Edge. So don't forget to turn on notifications on my channel on both desktop and mobile. On mobile by simply clicking that bell icon next to my channel so that you're notified as soon as I upload a brand new Apple video. But yeah, this has been pretty much it. This was a really long video. So thank you all for watching this video. Let me know in the comments if you've made it to the end by saying I made it to the end. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. I'm Daniel, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Zen of Tech, signing out. Cheers.